Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else. This is John Paval. I'm here with a special edition from Access Arts Live to tell you about everything that's going on this Thursday, September 25th. There are so many live streams going on. I think there are at least 8 in one evening, and some of them only got announced today, and some of them are topically grouped together. And I just had to come online and go over some of them with you a bit. We've got a couple of Scandinavian orchestras in Finland and in Sweden coming up with lovely concerts, which I think they must be aware that winter is approaching and the long nights are coming because they have pieces that have to do with dreams and trauma and with the long Nordic nights. Then we just found out today, just got announced today, a couple of Russian orchestras, the Moscow Phil and the St. Petersburg Phil, which calls itself the Shostakovich Philharmonic. Both are doing Happy Birthday Shostakovich live stream concerts today on YouTube. Who knew? This was not listed on the broadcast page of their websites. I guarantee you that. And then, and on top of that, then we have not one, not two, but 3 concerts, which are of interest because of their relationship to the African diaspora. We have an African American musician who's just finished a composition artist in residence program. We've got a what appears to be a New York based composer doing a whole new work inspired by writers of the African diaspora, and then also from the Bonfest Berlin, a whole piece which has brought together musicians, we are told, from the African diaspora to create new music together. This is exciting, and on top of that, you've got Jory Vinicourt playing harpsichord music in the afternoon in New York City. I mean, how much more can you ask for, folks? It's overflowing. So I want to get to telling you about each and every one of these concerts. I'm going to be very brief about some of them that we already told you about at the beginning of this week. And then spend more time, especially talking to you about the 2 concerts coming out of Russia and the 3 concerts having to do with African heritage. They're unusual. Well, it might be some kind of a record to have 3 African heritage concerts in the same evening in 3 different locations. Just is it by coincidence or what? Is this Thursday a special day? I don't know, but it is. Okay, so it starts out in just about an hour from now. It's about 4:20 here in Europe, which makes it, I think, it makes it like 10:20 in the U.S. The first of these is the Tapiola Sinfonietta, which is doing a concert led by their cellist, Nicolas Alstate, because they're a chamber orchestra. They don't really have a conductor, but they can be led by a concertmaster or a particular instrumentalist. And Nicolas Alstate is both a cellist and a conductor. And they're doing, the theme is Dream or Trauma. They're doing Henry Purcell's Funeral March of Queen Mary Z, Harrison Birtwistle's Cortesia, which involves the musicians doing mysterious ritual in front of the audience. Shostakovich's Concerto for Cello and Orchestra Number 1 in E flat major, Opus 107, and then Schubert's Unfinished Symphony, raising the question, well, what would he have composed if he had finished it? So that's the first thing at 5:30 in the evening, European time, 11:30 on the East Coast in the morning, and 8:30 in the morning on the West Coast, 1:30 late night in the morning down under in Australia. A lovely concert with top people. But that's not the only cello concert. There are 2 more coming up right after it. I mean, which cellist do you want to hear playing which cello concerto tonight? This is okay. Next up, then at 7 o'clock European time. In other words, what is that? An hour and a half later? Yeah, an hour and a half later. So after that concert is over, you can then tune into the Royal Stockholm Phil, being led by and you know the Tapiola Sinfonietta. They're in Finland, but then you can switch to the Royal Stockholm Phil, which is led by the Finnish conductor, who's the head of the Helsinki Philharmonic, Yuka-Pekka Saraste, who was much, much loved, at least by online viewers of live streams when he appears. They really go nuts about him. They love the guy and the way he conducts. And they'll be doing a piece by two pieces, which are either about, well, the first one is Tarkianen's Midnight Sun Variations. Tarkianen is a Finnish composer, and then they'll do Tchaikovsky's Pathétique Symphony. Oh, they'll finish with that. In between, they bring in top cellist Albin Gerhardt playing Elgar's cello concerto. So that's the second of three cello concertos coming at you one after another this evening. Okay. Then after that come our two that was two from Scandinavia. Now moving east, there are two coming from Russia, from St. Petersburg, which is just down the Baltic coast from Finland, and from Moscow. So let me tell you about the Moscow one first, because okay. So the Moscow one, it's Happy Birthday Shostakovich. Fyodor Lednev leads the Moscow Phil in Shostakovich's Violin Concerto No. 1 with Vadim Repin on the violin, and Symphony No. 6, Opus 54. That's that'll be in between the concerts in the Tapiola Sinfonietta concert and the Royal Stockholm Phil concert. That will be at 6 o'clock in the evening, European time, noon on the East Coast, 9 in the morning on the West Coast, 7 o'clock in the evening, Moscow time. Lednev is, he's a lifelong sort of teacher of conducting. He was born same time as Vadim Repin, the violinist, 1971, from Minsk, and went to the St. Petersburg State Conservatory, studying conducting, and by the time he was 24 years old, he was teaching at that conservatory and has done so ever since. And since 2022, he also conducts the Nizhny Novgorod Opera and Ballet Theater. And as for Vadim Repin, if you don't know who he is, he's a very well-known violinist, youngest winner ever of the Queen Elizabeth International Competition in Brussels, and then 20 years later he became chairman of the jury. He likes to talk about things. He's played with people like Martha Argerich, Cecilia Bartoni, Boris Berezovsky, Lang Lang, etc. Played with all the top conductors. Regularly, he's at the top festivals, the BBC Proms, Tanglewood, Rheingau, Verbier, founded the Trans-Siberian Art Festival in Russia, Chevalier of the French Order of Knights and Letters, a Knight of the French Legion of Honor. They also gave him the highest French music award at the Les Victoires de la Musique, the Victoire of Honor award for services to music. They did that over a decade ago. So then after that, well, at the same time? No. An hour later, the St. Petersburg Phil opens their season playing Shostakovich's Suite on Words by Michelangelo Buonarroti, Tishenko's symphonic poem Francesca da Rimini, and Tchaikovsky's Fantasy for Orchestra after Dante, Francesca da Rimini. So that's two pieces inspired by Francesca da Rimini. All by Russians, a very Russian program. And helping out, the conductor is Nikolai Alexeyev, who's a longtime standard conductor with the St. Petersburg Phil, and the baritone is Boris Pinkasovich. So then after that, aside from that, or in the middle of all that, you have Midtown Concerts, doing a terrific program with the top international harpsichordist Jory Vinicourt, and he'll be playing suites by J.C. Curl, Louis Couperin, and J.C.F. Fisher. And we put out a separate clip on that, so I don't need to go into it. Now, what I want to do is I want to tell you more about these other live streams going on, these three live streams in a row, which involve this the African diaspora, as it is called now. And the first of these is, well, let me announce it properly. Today, Thursday, September 25th, there's not one, not two, but three online live stream concerts by one by an African American musician and two by musicians from Europe exploring ideas, themes, and the music of the African diaspora. And the first of these is the Beethoven Fest Bonn, and it's called Speaking in Tongues, which is among Christians, it's called glossolalia when people who don't know how to speak a language are somehow able to do it. The apostles did it on the day of the Pentecost when they were filled with the Holy Spirit. For those of you who are Christians, you know that. Anyway, so what they did was there was a Beethoven Fest fellow whose name is Jacob Nierentz, and he got together other musicians from the African diaspora to develop new compositions in intensive sessions of improvisation together. The concert takes place in Bonn as part of the Beethoven Fest, and the program is by the same people who are the musicians. So it's Jacob Nierentz's Into the Deep Blue. It's Hana Mabuya's Transition Together. It's Cassie Kenoshi's Rooted Bloom and Lucas Akintaya's Elevation in Orbit. Those are all world premieres. Now, Nierentz plays the cello, and he's the artistic director. Hana Mabuya plays the tuba. Cassie Kenoshi plays the saxophone, and Lucas Akintaya plays the drums. And they all take part in the composition. The idea, I think, was also to experiment in a sort of communal way of composing and creating. So that's first up in this triple header. Now, after that, several hours later, the Kennedy Center has a program. It's Maximilian Jacobs, and he's a young violinist composer who just finished up doing an artist residency at Strathmore House. And he'll be live streamed by the Kennedy Center at their usual time, 6 o'clock in the evening Eastern Time, 3 o'clock on the West Coast, midnight in Europe, and 8 o'clock in the morning, Friday morning, down under in Australia. And he mixes together jazz, classical music, and klezmer, that's not exactly the African diaspora. That's a different diaspora. But anyway, that's where he's at. And he's from Baltimore, and the Strathmore is a pretty big time artist in residence program, which allows young composers like Jacobs to take some time to actually develop some compositions. He's got a master's degree in violin performance from the University of Maryland, and he plays with the Great Falls Philharmonic Orchestra in Virginia. But anyway, while he was there, he has come up with some pieces, and hopefully they tell us about this because it's an indication of what he's going to be playing tonight. He has an entire concert that's called Remembering Eddie South, in which he pays tribute to the African-American jazz violinist Eddie South. And then he has a new original composition that he composed at the Strathmore Mansion called Octet Number 1. And it's a 4-movement work that combines jazz, klezmer, there it is again, and classical music. That sounds like it will be delightful. So I can commend that to you. You know, it's Kennedy Center live streams. And then after that, we're not done yet. Sorry, my nose keeps itching on me, and I don't know why. Let me, before I'm finished with that, though, I'm so excited, I'm running over myself. Let me show you a separate picture of, this is Maximilian Jacobs in all his intensity. Now, then when Maximilian is done, or Max, as I'm probably forever after going to call him, then we have Lamin, or Layman, but I would pronounce it Lamin, I think, Fofana. And who is Lamin Fofana? I'll tell you in a second. Hold on. Let me find my notes. Okay, Thursday, September 25th, Roulette Intermedium is live streaming Lamin Fofana's A Voice in Three Mirrors. That's an improvisatory, multisensory experience consisting of three new works: History of the Voice, Corps Perdu, and Works in Metal, all of which were inspired by the works of writers of the African diaspora. That will be at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock on the West Coast, 2 o'clock in the morning here in Europe, and 10 o'clock Friday morning down under in Australia. Now, he was inspired by African diaspora writers like Aimé and Suzanne Césaire in France, Kamau Brathwaite, and Dion Brand. And he currently is located in New York. But when you look at his exhibitions of installations in the recent past, they've been in at the Tate in Liverpool, England. They've been at the National Gallery in Hamburg. They've been in Berlin. They've been in Munich. So I think he's been hanging out in Berlin before heading to New York, which is where he is now. So let me tell you about these three works that he's going to be presenting. And then I'll do a separate clip of this and put it out, especially because we participated in a number of groups for people interested in African American music and the arts. And I want to make sure they get a separate clip and they know about these three exciting live streams. Maybe they'll subscribe. I want more subscribers. Anyway, the first, called Works in Metal, it's a sound sculpture. And it's developed around the idea of melting together MIDI and digital audio like liquid metal and reshaping it. Then the next one, Corps Perdu, which means the lost body. Its title comes from a 1948 book of poetry by Aimé Césaire in Paris, which was illustrated by Pablo Picasso. And it reflects Fofana's predilection for transmuting text into sound. And so there are three very different musical techniques, I think, being illustrated here, because the third piece, called History of the Voice, consists of stretched out voice fragments and field recordings and what is called sound debris. And creating a piece which is about presence and environmental expression. So that's your triple header today, starting out with your Bonfest of four musicians, part of the African diaspora, who've come together in intense improvisatory sessions to create new music, or what I call now music, because this is it. Nobody's ever heard this stuff before. That's at the Bonfest at at 7:30 in the evening European time, 1:30 on the East Coast, and you can figure out the rest on your own. Then that's followed at 6 in the evening, the Kennedy Center, with this young violinist composer Maximilian Jacobs, playing music of jazz, classical, and klezmer melded together in his own unique brand of music. And then finally, the evening concludes at 8 o'clock New York time. And you can figure out the other times with Lamine Fofana's A Voice in Three Mirrors, inspired by writers of the African diaspora. Well, I hope that someone or any of these is aspiring to someone or any of you, if you tune in, or if you happen to see this live stream or a clip from it, telling you about all these exciting live streams, all in one evening. Folks, we're living in a time when there's going to be more and more, I believe, of these live performances online. Most of these you would be paying 30, 40, 50 euros or dollars just to get in the door, and they're free of charge. I urge you, don't neglect this. Seize the moment, as the ancient proverb says, and dig in and become part of the global audience, enjoying these moments of truth and beauty in the moment when they're being created, when you're part of the social experience where the artists are creating, their heart, minds, and souls for you, for the in-person audience, and for you, the live stream audience. It's not the same thing as looking at a recording all by yourself, which is just like reading a book by yourself. The arts are a social experience, and I encourage you to enjoy them digitally. And now I will shut up. Have a great evening. I know I am. I'm probably going to be jumping from one of these to another, sampling them all as we go along. Ciao for now, and thanks for listening in.